Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. So today we're going to demonstrate how to perform salah for a person who's not able to stand. So a person performing salah sitting or even lying down. How does a person perform salah if he's sitting or lying down? But before that, there are a couple of very important masail that the fuqaha mention before they allow a person to perform salah sitting. So basically, when it comes to a person who's not able to perform salah normally, they say the principle is everything a person is capable of doing, he has to do. Everything he's capable of doing in a normal manner that he'd do in a normal salah, he has to do. And then if he's not able to do it, certain things fall off and certain things you have a substitute. So before we mention the manner of salah sitting, the first thing we have to all know is that the takbir, the opening takbir for salah, there is a pillar of salah. There is a pillar of salah. And a pillar of that pillar is to perform the opening takbir standing. So the takbir is a pillar, but standing while saying the opening takbir is a pillar. So if the opening takbir is not done standing, for a person who's capable to stand for even that amount, his salah will be invalid. His salah will be invalid. The second point of standing in salah is through reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. So if a person is able to stand throughout the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, or through most of the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, or let's say any amount of Surah Al-Fatiha, then he should stand that amount. If he thereafter is unable, then he can sit down. So the opening takbir has to be done standing. A person who needs to pray on the chair, he cannot bring the chair, sit down, Allahu Akbar, salah will be invalid if he's able to stand. If he is able to stand, he begins Allahu Akbar and then he recites as much as he can standing. Thereafter, when he's unable to stand further, he can sit down. So these rules of the takbir and saying the opening takbir standing and reciting Surah Al-Fatiha standing, these rules are specifically for the fardh salah. So the fardh salah and also those salah that are fardh kifaya, those salah that are a communal obligation, like Salatul Janazah, like Salatul Eid, and also in Hanafi madhab, salah that is wajib like the witr and the sunnah fajr. For all these salah, the opening takbir has to be said standing, and also Surah Al-Fatiha in every rak'ah. For the sunan salah, or let's say those salah that are not fardh, then as a starting point, each madhab have their own little details regarding certain points, but overall a person can begin the salah standing if he wishes, or sitting. He can perform the entire salah standing if he wants to, or the entire salah sitting if he wants to. He can begin it standing and at any point sit down and complete the salah. Or he can begin it sitting down and at any time stand up and complete the salah standing up. If he's able to perform the salah standing but he performs it sitting, he gets half the reward. And if a person is performing the salah sitting, and then when he comes close to ruku', either before ruku' with a few verses left as he recites, or just before ruku', he can stand up and perform ruku' from standing if he wants to, or he can indicate with his back and his neck, or just his neck, sitting. Just his neck, I will explain a bit later, just now how to do it. He can do it sitting. And for sajdah, he can also indicate, but preferable for him to perform sajdah on the floor. And as for a person performing nafil salah or non-fard salah, lying down when he's capable of sitting or standing, then for that we'll say first, if he is not capable of sitting or obviously standing, then he can perform the salah lying down in the manner we mentioned. That's for the nafil salah. The same with the fard salah in the case where he's not capable. And if he is capable of sitting or standing, then the masail connected to that masala, we mentioned it in the entire dars. But the main thing is, if he's not capable, he can do it lying down. If he is capable, then the details to the masala are mentioned in the lesson, with most ulama saying he shouldn't perform the salah lying down if he's capable of doing it sitting or standing. So when it comes to sitting down, the ulama say you either sit, they say you can sit in any manner. That means any manner sitting down on the floor. So that would mean you can sit like this, cross-legged, or you can sit with your legs out like this, or you can sit like this, or you can sit like that. Any manner counts. They say even sitting on a chair would count. But they speak on which would be the best manner to sit. So before we touch on that, those above masail are according to the majority of the ulama, and most of those things they are agreed upon by all the ulama. The only exception would be in the Hanafi madhab. In the Hanafi madhab, if a person is not able to perform sajdah on the floor, he's not able to perform sajdah on the floor, even if he's capable of standing and performing ruku', they say it's better for this person to perform salah sitting. They say it's better for this person to perform salah sitting. They say it's valid if he stands and performs the salah and then sits down, and if he performs a standing posture, standing, and ruku' standing, but it's better for him to perform the salah sitting. That's what they say. And they also say, when it comes to sitting, they say like what we mentioned just now, for which is the best, for how to sit, you can sit any way, whichever is easier for you. But they say a person should sit on the floor. A person should sit on the floor. Only if he's not able to sit on the floor, then he can sit on the chair. So you have to first sit on the floor first and perform sajdah on the floor. Then you move to the chair. Then you move to the chair. And if you are sitting on the chair and you're able to do sajdah on the ground, you have to do sajdah on the ground. As we said, whatever you're able to do as normal, you have to do. You have to do it. And then whatever you're not able, there's a substitute. If there's a substitute, you go to that substitute. So in saying that, the opening takbir, the entire takbir must be said standing. So the ulama say, if you say the opening takbir, starting it standing and then sitting, it becomes a nafil salah. The salah being a fardh cancels out. So if you say Allahu Akbar, salah becomes a nafil salah, because the entire takbir must be said standing. And as we said in the entire lecture, standing, a person must be able to stand himself. If he's not able to stand, he can lean on something, be it a stick, be it a crutch. Even a person, he has to do that. He has to do that. To that extent, the ulama are adamant that the pillar of standing has to be achieved in salah. Thereafter, they also mention, even if a person is able to stand, but he has a problem in his back, or he's a hunchback, that he stands but he's bending over, then in this case, he still has to stand. He still has to stand, even if it's to the extent of ruku', even to the extent of ruku'. Then when he comes to ruku', he'll bend a bit lower if he's capable, or the differentiation between standing and ruku' will be the hands. The hands were here when standing, so they'll come here when it's ruku'. They'll come there when it's ruku', or the third differentiation is intention. He'd have intention for his qiyaam, and then ruku', it will be a change in intention. So to that extent, a person has to make sure he can stand, even reclining on something. And we mentioned the masail to which extents are reclining allowed and not allowed. But in general, let's go to the next point, and that is now a person who can perform salah sitting. A person who can perform salah sitting, the ulama say the best manner to sit when a person is reciting, when a person is in qiyaam, standing, that means before ruku' and after ruku', is to sit cross-legged. They say to sit cross-legged. To sit cross-legged. And then for ruku' and sajdah, he sits in the tashahhud posture. This is when he's able to sit like that. This is when he's able to sit in these postures, and this would be best for him. This would be best for him. Is it better for a person to sit on the ground or on the chair? We'll say to the person that if he's able to sit on, if when sitting on the chair, he can do more pillars in the normal manner compared to when he's on the ground, then sitting on the chair is better. Meaning, if he sits on the chair, he says, I can then stand and perform salah, and then I can do ruku' normally. But if I sit on the floor, I can only do sajdah normally, but I can't do ruku' and I can't stand. In this case, praying on the chair would allow him to achieve two pillars. In that case, we say praying on the chair is better. But if, let's say he could say, if I pray on the chair, I can stand, but I won't do ruku' properly, and then obviously sajdah I won't, if he's on the chair. And if he's on the ground, he says, I can do sajdah properly, but I can't stand and I can't do ruku'. In this case, one pillar and one pillar, he can sit either on the chair or on the ground. We said in the Hanafi madhab, if he's capable on the ground, he must on the ground. He must on the ground. In the case where they are equal, if sitting on the chair is easier for him, he sits on the chair. Otherwise, if he's still wondering which is better, then sitting on the floor would be better. Why? Because the ulama say sitting cross-legged or in tashahhud, that is better. So that's not achieved on the chair, that is achieved on the ground. So then when a person is performing salah on the chair, either let's say he starts the entire salah on the chair. So now in this case, he'll perform salah as he normally does standing, except that he'll be sitting. So he'd say the opening takbir as usual, and then he'll fold his hands as usual. Now when it comes to ruku', if a person is able to stand, but he cannot do sajdah properly, he'd do ruku' from a standing posture as he would normally, and then when it comes to sajdah, he'd sit for the sajdah. So what he won't do is he won't stand for the qiyaam and then sit for the ruku', and then obviously he'd sit for the sajdah. So he won't do that. He'd do ruku' from a standing position. He'd be doing ruku' from a standing position. So then when a person is performing salah sitting, his salah in most cases will be the same as if he were to do it on the floor. For a male or female, most will be the same. The only difference would come into ruku' and sajdah, into ruku' and the sajdah. So in the Hanafi madhab, if a person is able to do sajdah on the ground, for ruku', he'll bend and indicate with his neck and his back. So if he can do sajdah on the ground, let's go on the ground. So if he's going to do sajdah on the ground, let's say he's like this. Okay, after ruku', if he sat like this, he didn't change to cross-legged, but he sat like this. Okay, and he can perform sajdah on the ground. In this case, for ruku', he will bend his back and his neck. So his hands will be where? His hands will be on his knees. His hands will be on his knees, and he'll be going like this as much as he can. Subhana rabbiyal azim, subhana rabbiyal azim, subhana rabbiyal azim, sami'a Allahu liman hamid. He'll do it like that. That's because he can do his sajdah on the ground. If he cannot do his sajdah on the ground, then in that case, in the Hanafi madhab, he does ima. In the Hanafi madhab, they interpret ima as just moving the neck. Just moving the neck. So you don't need to then go like this. You don't need to go like that. You just move your neck. So you say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Sami'a Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Then for sajdah, you move your neck further. You move your neck further. That's what you do in the Hanafi madhab when you cannot do sajdah on the ground. So doing a full like that would not be correct in the Hanafi madhab. And then a mistake people do is on top of doing that, then they do this. So they do the hands on top. We're going to touch on it just now when we do the salah, how it would be done according to the other schools. So in the other schools, they say, of course, if you can do sajdah on the ground, you do ruku' and sajdah, as I said. But if you cannot do sajdah as normal, then you'll indicate either from sitting on the ground or the chair. For ruku' and for sajdah, you'd move your back and your neck. You'd move your back and your neck if you are able. So for ruku', you'll move it less than sajdah. You'd indicate and move it less than sajdah. So sajdah would be more. And they say minimum ruku' for a person who's capable of doing ruku' if he's sitting, is that his forehead is just beyond his knees. So if a person is capable of doing ruku' that much and he's done less, he's only moved this much, forehead is not, ruku' would be invalid if he's capable. So this would be minimum ruku', the forehead is just there. So therefore he'd move his back and his neck to minimum ruku'. So he'd say, Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. That would be ruku', then Sami'a Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Then for sajdah, he'd move his back and his neck further down. So Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Allahu Akbar. So what happened there is the hands. You do not, according to all the ulama, most of the ulama, except the Maliki madhab, we explained that in details in the full lecture on the how to perform salah sitting. But in summary here, the hands do not perform sajdah with the body. So when the ulama say you indicate, they say it refers to the back and the neck, or some say just the neck, as we mentioned just now. So the hands do not go and do sajdah as well. The hands do not go to sajdah as well, whether you're on the chair or on the ground. So the hands stay here on the thighs or on the knees. And some of the ulama say you could even leave it on the side. So Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Or if your chairs have hand rests, then you can leave it there and go Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la in sajdah as much as possible towards the ground, more than the ruku'. And do you need to lift those? There's some salah tables, or there's a salah chair where you do ruku', sajdah specifically, and your forehead goes on the table that's there. That would be makruh. To put a table, because to lift something that's not connected to the ground, like the table, and to put it there, it would be makruh. And that's makruh if a person went down for sajdah as much as he could, and then the table was there. If he did not go as much as he could, because the table was here, let's say the table ended here, and he could reach here, but when he went down, he was here, but he didn't reach here, the salah would be invalid. Because the sajdah was not valid. So that's for a salah on a salah table or sajdah table. And then for salah in a plane, for example, if a person can find a place to pray the full salah as he would do on the ground, at the back of the plane or in any section of the plane, then he does his salah like that. If he has this option and he performs salah sitting when he's capable of standing, incapable of sajdah and everything, his salah would be invalid. His salah would be invalid. So you have to do that first. You have to find a place. Either there's already a set place, or they'll make place for you in the plane. If not, then a person can pray. A person does not pray on the aisles. Even though there's place, a person should not pray on the aisles. He prays on his chair. And he'll pray on his chair, facing the Qibla if possible. If possible to face the Qibla, he has to face the Qibla. As we said, everything a person is capable of doing, he must do. Once he's not capable, either they fall, like Qibla, it falls, there's no substitute, or he does the substitute, like standing has a substitute to sitting. So if a person can face the Qibla, like this for example, then he faces the Qibla and he performs his salah like that. Standing, if he's capable, if it's possible, especially if the plane is not, there's no turbulence or something, and he can pray standing, then he prays standing. Even as we said, leaning on something. So if you're praying standing in the plane and you can lean on the armrest or on the chair in front of you to keep standing, you have to do that. You have to do that to pray standing. And then for ruku', as we said, you do it from standing. You do it from standing, and then for sajdah, then you can sit. The qibla is that way. You're doing like this. You're doing like this. Or if you cannot face the qibla like that, it's difficult for you to face, then you just do the sajdah like that. And then in the Hanafi madhab, as we said, since the sajdah in this case would not be performed on the ground, then you don't need to stand. You don't need to stand. And from the start, you can pray on the chair and then with head movements. So your ruku' would just be like this. And then your sajdah would be full like that. Would be lower with your head. Some of the Hanafi ulama say in a case like this, they recommend that salah is repeated. Or to repeat properly when you're on the ground. So if you can perform a full salah, you have to perform it, and it's fine to perform it even if you'd land. But you cannot make the salah qadha. You have to pray as is. You cannot make the salah qadha. If you can join it, then you join it. If it's salah that cannot be joined, or you're of the opinion that you cannot join the salah, and the whole time you're not going to get chance to perform the salah on the ground, then in this case you pray on the bus, on the train, in a car, wherever you are, as best as you can in the manner that we explained now. So lastly, if a person can perform a portion of the salah standing and then he'd go to sitting, so we tell a person in this situation, for the fardh salah, he should begin the salah standing. So the opening takbir and then Suratul Fatiha, whatever he can standing, and then when he sits, or he'd perform the entire first rakah standing, but then when he goes to sajdah on the ground, on the chair, then he can't stand up again. Then in this case, we tell him to perform the first rakah standing as much as possible from the first rakah. So don't start immediately sitting, start standing, then when you sit, then finish the rest of the salah sitting. Finish the rest of the salah sitting as best as you can. So when a person is praying salah on the chair, because of the difference of opinion according to some of the ulama, it's better a person does not recline fully on the backrest. If his chair has a backrest, so he's not leaning fully on the backrest, he should try and at least be holding himself up to an extent if he is capable of doing so. If he's capable of doing so, then he should try and he can lean on the back, right? That might fall into like how you perform salah while leaning on something, which has an element of being makruh. But if you lean to the extent where if that thing is moved, you fall down, then according to the majority of the ulama, the standing doesn't count, the salah becomes invalid. So if a person were just to lean slightly, that if the thing was moved when he's standing, he would not fall, the salah and the qiyaam, the standing would be valid. So for sitting, he should try and not recline fully on the chair. So, but even if he holds himself up a little bit, that's okay. So that's one thing to remember. The last thing connected to salah on the chair is that a person who comes to the mosque, if he's standing in the row with the people, where does he place his chair? Because sometimes people will place the chair where the front legs are in line with everyone. But then the back legs would be affecting the person behind in the row. And others would put the back legs in line with those on the side. But then when he stands in his salah, he'd be ahead of them. So what do we do in this case? In this case, we say there's two situations. If a person begins this, if a person is going to pray the entire salah sitting, so that means he's going to start his salah sitting, then how does he get into line with people? You look at the lower back. The ulama say you look at the lower back. In this case, you place the back legs in line with the rest of the row. So when he's sitting, the person is here and the person is there. He's praying the entire salah sitting like that. And if a person is going to pray a portion of the salah standing, and then he's going to sit, so he'll start his salah standing and then he's going to sit, then in this case, if in some masajid there are rows where people sit who are on chairs, they sit at the back, then that's fine, they can just align themselves. But in other cases where you're going to be praying with those who are standing, then in this case, if there's going to be a row behind, if there's no row behind, then this won't affect in most cases. But if there are people behind and you're going to start the salah standing, then you do either one of two things. Number one, you put the front legs in line with the row, in line with the row. So that means you're going to be standing and people are going to be right next to you. The chair is going to be a bit behind you, but the back legs are going to be in the row. They might affect the people in the next row. So in this case, you do it like this and you stand. And then ruku', standing if you can. If not, then when you sit. But when you're going to sit, if you are able, the ulama say if you are able, without making many movements, just to slide the chair forward so that the back legs are now in line with the people, then you do that. So it's a small movement to move it back. And when you sit, then now your lower back and this part of your body will be in line with the people. Then you will be in line with people, even though you are in front here. And then when you stand up for the next rak'ah, then you just move it back a bit again, so you are in line like this. In this case, you've not harmed anyone at the back. The other situation is when a person is not able to move the chair, or if he's not able to move the chair, or if he doesn't want, it's also a valid manner. Or if he doesn't want, then it's also a valid manner. In this case, what he'd do is the back legs would be in line with everyone. The back legs would be in line with everyone. That means when he starts his salah standing, he'd be ahead of the people. In this case, the fact that he's ahead of people, the small bit he's ahead of people by the small amount, the rest of the people in the row, it's overlooked. It's overlooked. And it's for a reason, so it's for an excuse, a valid excuse, so it's overlooked. And the ulama say, if he keeps his chair like this, with the front legs in line with everyone else, then the back legs would harm someone behind as they try to perform sajdah. And harming a Muslim is one of the reasons where a sunnah can fall. So you cannot fulfill a sunnah or implement a sunnah, and as a result of that you harm a Muslim. So in this case, because of that, then the sunnah of standing row shoulder to shoulder would fall. So you keep the chair, the back legs in line with everyone, and then you'd be standing a bit in front. And then when you sit and you end the salah, because most of the salah you'd probably be sitting, then in those times you'd be in line. And when you were standing in qiyaam and maybe ruku', you are ahead of the people for that small period of time, then that doesn't matter.